Hello, and welcome to A Mental Break. I'm your host, Taylor Simpson, and on today's episode, I have one of my bestest friends in the whole world here. Him and I go way back, longer than I care to announce. um, Probably since middle school, I'm guessing, and then we got closer in high school. Uh, we had long hair together. We listened to a lot of metal together. We drank a lot of beer together. We have a lot of fun stories together. Lots of things together. um, yeah, if you don't know him, you're gonna know him in this episode. He's here to chat with me. He's graciously asked to come on the pod and tell his story, and I couldn't be happier to have him on. Mike Dent, everybody.
Hello, I'm Mike.
What's going on, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's good to see you. For those of you that don't know, Mike lives in Saskatchewan.
Yes, unfortunately I do. So
Fortunately.
not the greatest of places, let's say.
Oh man.
So it's been quite some time since especially with COVID, it's been quite some time since I've been back to Toronto to actually visit you. So
Yes, it's been a few
looking forward
years.
to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you in person again, whatever that may be.
I mean, hopefully soon. I'm
I
not even
hope
sure
so.
what I think flights are lifted now, but I'm still
I
unsure
think
as
you can
to
fly within Canada, no problem. It was just if you leave Canada, I think was the issue.
that's the no.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, buddy. So yeah, Mike and I pretty much grew up together, I'd say, through our adolescent years here in
For
Toronto,
sure.
and then he married the love of his life and is now in Saskatchewan with her. And yeah, we've been apart for too long, man.
I'm coming back soon.
Anyways, so tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, Mike, so that they get to know a little bit more about you and yeah, just get a better idea of who we're talking to today.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, as you know, I am Mike Dent from Saskatchewan, unfortunately. Um, I did grow up with Taylor. We went through all of high school together. I think
Yep.
we had class every single year together.
Yeah, I think
At the
so.
very least, in guitar. Yeah, you were in guitar for all that time.
Yes, I
So
was. Yep.
we had class all throughout high school together.
I think we had a science
Um,
class together at some point.
we did, yeah, Earth and Space Science.
Yes, that's right. That was fun.
Indeed,
Anyways.
yeah. um, what should we call? Yeah, I went out to university trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I didn't really like university, to be honest with you. So
Mm-hmm.
I instead, please, Salem, get out. Wait.
For the
Uh,
audio listeners, there's a cat in
my
Mike's
cat
camera.
keeps walking across my keyboard. Um, so I stopped going to university. My girlfriend at the time was moving out to Saskatchewan to go to school. So I said, you know what, I'm not going to university in Ontario anymore. There's no jobs because at the time, uh, like Taylor said, don't want to admit how long ago that was. Uh, the Toronto was going through a little bit of a job crisis. Not very many jobs were around. Um, so I decided, you know what? There's really no fault of me moving out here. I'll try my luck out here, see if I can get something else. I landed a job in HVAC, so sheet metal. And I've been
Yeah.
doing that for I almost let it slip. I've been doing that for
Oh,
a while.
you could
uh,
say that. You could say the years. It's fine.
I've been doing it for over 8 years.
There you
Uh,
go, guys.
yeah.
He's an experienced sheet metaler, HVAC man.
So I hit metal with a hammer, and it does what I want it to do most of the
So you're
time.
like Thor.
I wish. No, he uses a big hammer. I use a very tiny one. Um, but yeah, I've been pretty much working out here for the past 8 years, and just pretty much trying to get by in the prairies.
Nice,
Uh,
man. What are
as
some of your passions outside of hitting metal with hammers?
Oh, we're getting too deep now. I, you know what? I don't have many passions. I'm very happy to just chill and literally do nothing all day. You know, just kind of like orangutan it up, just sit and eat some mangoes. That's a okay.
It's a very Mike
Um,
thing.
yes. Uh, I like to play lots of video games, so I do that mostly in my spare time. Uh, and then when COVID wasn't a thing, I used to go out quite a bit, seeing friends. Not too many parties. It's not really my scene. Um,
Anymore, at least.
and yes, anymore.
uh,
Yeah, not my cup of tea. But yeah, no, I like to consume lots of different types of media, and video games is primarily the one I enjoy the most.
nice, man. And you touched upon where you're from, right? You're from Mississauga?
Toronto, yeah, Mrs. I am from
Toronto, Mississauga.
Mississauga. Yeah,
Born and raised.
the GTA region. Yeah,
Cool, cool, cool. So that's a little bit about Mike, everybody listening and watching. If you're watching the video version. So Mike,
this is being video recorded too.
yes, it is, buddy.
Ah, well, hello
Now you know.
everybody.
Welcome. They can see your pretty face. He's a charmer. He's a charmer.
I used to be.
So Mike, I like to ask my guests before we get into the nitty gritty of everything, just how they're feeling today. Are they feeling comfortable? Are they, ready and willing to talk about certain things or aspects of their life that can be a bit sensitive sometimes? Are
Oh,
you, how you feeling today, buddy? You feeling cool and ready to talk about some deep shit?
not cool at all. It is extremely warm out here.
Yeah, you're right.
But but no,
Hot on the collar.
I'm ready and willing to disclose any information you want to hear. I am feeling very safe for sure.
Cool. That's great to hear, man. You always gotta make sure you have consent with these things.
I agree.
It's 2021. It's that time. But yeah, man. So let's get into it, buddy. What kind of mental health struggles or illnesses do you deal with, buddy, or have dealt with, or currently dealing with?
Uh, Currently, my wife and I speculate that I am autistic. Uh, Never, I will go into that later. Currently, we speculate that I am autistic.
Okay.
Previously, and I guess it doesn't leave you, I have dealt with depression in the past, feeling okay from it right now. I have had anger management issues. That might be something new for you to hear, actually.
Interesting.
I know. Um,
I think I knew this about you though.
Maybe it wasn't prevalent when I was in Ontario. It came out more so here. But yeah, some issues like that.
Okay.
I think that would be about it.
Okay. So you
So
said
the
the
big
depression
three.
when you were younger,
Mhm.
a little bit of anger management when you moved out there,
Yes.
and on the autistic spectrum.
Mhm.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So we can dive into some of those things today.
For sure.
So I'm guessing because you said speculate with the autistic stuff and talking about the depression and the anger stuff that you haven't been diagnosed with anything in particular.
No, no, I have not.
Okay,
I'm. My wife has told me that I can definitely go and do it. Right, that's
sure.
fine to do. Uh, I have never had a big want to do it. I don't see a purpose in
Okay.
doing so. If there is one, by all means, feel free to let me know. But I, as far as I know, it's just the doctors diagnose you with it, and you say, okay, I have a understanding
Mm.
that I am it now. I guess.
Yeah. Oh, it's not so much like you are it. It's more like just giving you the clairvoyancy that you might need, or like a definitive answer if you're questioning like certain aspects of your life that maybe get in the way or are um, crippling you in some sense, like or enabling you to do something that you would normally be able to do regularly. That kind of stuff would be probably a good reason to go seek a diagnosis. So then
Mhm.
you can get the answer that maybe you already knew, but then you have a professional telling you like, yeah, this is what it is.
For
um,
sure. Yeah.
and
Okay.
then maybe they can walk you down a path of how to cope with it better or like how to if medication is an option or if therapy is an option or any sort of thing like that, right?
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, that makes sense.
Has it ever crossed your mind, Mike, at all for any of these things? Or you just kind of like, it doesn't really affect you that much to the point where you think you might have to go do that?
I mean, yeah, really not. I haven't had, I guess, hiccup, like a major hiccup in my life where I'm just like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. Generally, I can attribute it to something that's prevalent in my life, and a lot of the times it's down to personality. So I'm like, okay,
Sure.
well, it I don't seem to need that confirmation on it, so I've never really needed to go and get it diagnosed. Uh,
Okay.
if it does help me on, I don't know, maybe a job application, hey, I'm more than willing to do it there for sure.
Sure, sure.
Give me it, but other than that, no, I'm okay without it.
Okay. And that's totally fine. Like it's whatever experience, whoever's experience is whoever's experience is totally valid to their own person, right? So if you feel like you're in a good enough place where it doesn't affect you that much to the point where you'd have to go get a diagnosis, then that's totally cool. But just know that if it ever does get to a point where that becomes an issue, at least you can go at least seek some sort of advice, whether that be in a counselor or a therapist
Yeah,
or your family doctor or whoever, right?
for sure. Yeah.
Or even somebody that struggles with something similar. Like somebody, if you know somebody that is also on the autistic spectrum or also deals with anger issues or I mean, you don't deal with depression anymore, you said, but
Yeah.
if it ever came back, you could talk to me. I deal with depression a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Thank you for
um,
that.
you're welcome. um, or if there's anybody out there in Saskatchewan that that deals with depression, I'm sure you can reach out to them and they can
Mhm.
walk you through what they did or any sort of thing like that. I'm not trying to preach here. I'm just giving you options for future if it ever does rise in you.
It's definitely good because like depression never goes away, and you do have ups and downs with it, right?
Yeah, of course.
So I'm sure there's going to be times where I'm not having a good time, and that would be a great time to actually reach out to somebody else and you know get
Yeah,
the
of
time. Even if
course.
it's just talking, it's great to actually do.
Yeah, it's just in my mind, it's always just better taking it from like here and putting it out here in front of you.
Mm.
Sorry for my audio listeners. I was like from my head out onto the table. I keep forgetting that I like do two versions of this. And if I don't describe it visually, then my listeners are like, what? We don't get it. What are you saying?
Comes with time. It's inferred. It's fine. They're
Yeah, yeah,
quick.
yeah. It's all right. Audio listeners, watch the video and you'll understand.
They're easy. Done.
There you go. Okay, Mike. So, what is your experience or your perspective been like dealing with these issues that you just talked about? And the way I kind of like to describe it to my guest to explain to the listeners and the viewers is kind of like just give me like a timeline of like where these things started to arise in you or like when you started noticing them. Like it can
Okay.
we can start from like the depression, like where that came into your life and where you really started to feel that. How did that affect you? What was that experience like? And then work up to like where you are now, basically. Just give me like a brief synopsis of kind of that timeline.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Uh, so if I had to say when I believe depression started to arise, that would probably be in my early 20s. So that would be already after I've moved out to Saskatchewan.
Okay.
Uh, I don't recall much as a teenager, to be honest with you, but my
I was
memory is
gonna
also
ask, was there
quite
any depression
hazy.
when you were younger, like in high school? Because I know that I don't know when you would bring it up or anything like that, but there was a bit of you and I both had a drinking stint there for a while.
A drinking problem, yes.
Okay,
Um,
I wasn't sure if you wanted to say that out in the in the public eye or not. So
but
I,
that's okay. Yeah, there was definitely a drinking problem happening when we were younger. Um,
which I thought might have stemmed from something further, but
I mean, I don't know. I always viewed that as a I got to work when I was quite young. The people I hung out with after work were already past the age of 19, so all of them
mm-hmm.
were able to legally drink. For American listeners, in Canada, 18 and 19, depending on province or state, is when you can actually drink.
Yep.
So I was able to go out with them. a lot of the times, if you go in with a crowd, you do not get carded. Don't do that. That is bad. But they don't card you often enough, especially if the people that I hung out with know the waiters and waitresses out
Sure,
there.
sure, yeah.
So yeah, drinking from young ages. Um, that's where I believe it came from. I don't know. I really haven't delved to think about it that much, but that's where I thought, yeah, drinking heavily came from. My dad was also a very heavy alcoholic,
Mm-hmm.
so that also enforced that this is an okay thing to do. So of
Sure,
course,
sure.
yeah, I'm going to be drinking more often. Uh, so maybe depression stemmed from that. I'm not too sure. The
Mm-hmm.
time that I can confirm that I did notice it when I was out here though. Um, this was I was still going through school through an apprenticeship program where I would be able to go to school for 2 months and then work for the other 10. So I wasn't in school full time. Uh, I'm trying to think of exactly when that was, if it was first year or second year, but it was still early on. And I did notice, yeah, my mood was definitely not good throughout, like very morbid, I guess would be a way I would describe it. Very
Sure.
down all the time, extremely low energy. Just, you know, I don't want to do any of it. I'd rather just sleep for the entire day.
Right.
Uh, so that was early on. How long ago would that? Maybe around 20 or so, 21.
Okay.
So that was the first time I remember, thinking about it. Going forward, a few years later, um, it I guess it transformed more so into anger. Never physical aggression. I'm not a violent person, and I'm sure you can attest to that, or at least
Yeah,
I
Mike's
hope
a teddy
so.
bear.
I'm not a fighter.
He wouldn't even hurt a fly.
No, I actually take them outside. I get them in
I've seen
Tupperware
it. I've
containers and I
seen it.
put them outside. Uh,
We were at your house, and I think I've seen you do that.
yeah, I have. I don't do that with mosquitoes though.
Yeah, fuck
They're
mosquitoes.
they're they're bastards. They need to
Yeah,
die.
fuck them.
Uh, so little speciesism there, but everything else that's okay. I'll take you outside.
Yeah, yeah, free reign.
Um, but yeah, I did have a lot of anger issues. So I would have like, uh, well, what's the term where something will set you off instantly, like 0 to 100?
Trigger.
Trigger. Thank you.
You're
Trigger
welcome.
warning. Yeah, I would get triggered from 0 to 100 over the smallest things. So it could be something along the lines of, uh, I don't know, my shoelace becomes untied, like something extremely small like that.
Right.
And I would blow up, uh, yelling, screaming, lots of swearing, and I would not calm down for hours. So very, like I said, very minor things. And I remember talking to my wife about it because she was
Mm-hmm.
definitely concerned.
Yeah.
So we did talk about it. I did go to therapy for it,
Okay.
and
What
didn't
was that
go.
experience like going to therapy for it, Mike?
Man, I hate therapy. Like I do not like it.
Is that a
The
is that interesting. I wonder why you feel that way.
I here's why I dislike therapy for myself. For other people, I think it's a fantastic thing to do. You should never discredit it in any
Yeah.
way. I don't like it because I'm not sure how to open up in any regard. So
Right.
if a therapist is talking to me, so like, how are you feeling? Okay, right. So
Mm-hmm.
like, what do you do? Not much. This
Right.
is
So would you
I
say
don't know.
you're I don't want to use the word guarded, but like do you feel like you're guarded?
I and I've talked to my wife about this a lot as well. I I don't know how to open up. So
Right.
when I was a child, um, uh, emotions that I felt other than like joy or sadness, like anything else of interest, I would always keep to myself because I didn't want to bother anybody else around me. So
Interesting.
everything was very always okay in everybody else's eyes. At least I try to make it that way, perceive it.
Was there something that you could like pinpoint? I'm just curious, Mike. Was there something that you could like pinpoint to like some sort of reason as to why you would avoid talking about certain things like that? Like keep things to yourself? Was there something that somebody did or something that you experienced that could have made you feel that way? And because it seems like this is a conditioning thing. Like you've just been doing this for so many years that
Mm.
this is just who you are now, and it's hard for you to talk about certain things because you've just been so used to being quiet and reserved and keeping everything for yourself.
Not too much comes to mind. Like the only thing that I do have is like my father didn't speak a lot.
Yeah.
Like I said, he was a chronic alcoholic, so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the times I would come home, he would already be drunk. We didn't have a lot of interactions with each other. Um,
Sure.
so I didn't. I mean, I barely knew anything about him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I lived with him for 13 years or so.
I was gonna ask because for the listeners too, and like Mike, I don't know if you want to get too much into this, but um, your parents got divorced at an early age, right?
Yeah, I was 13 when they divorced.
Right. So any child going through something like that at that age, it's obviously gonna affect them.
For sure. Like it's the prime, like the tweens is I think it is just there, like 9 to 13 area
Yeah.
is like the prime time for when your
Development.
parents divorce. Development, yes, but
But then,
it hits you the hardest for sure.
sure, yeah, because you're
And I
aware.
don't. Oh yeah, exactly. Like I don't want to speak for my sister either, but she is a couple years younger than me, so she went through the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure she had uh, a different experience than I did.
Sure.
Uh, but yeah, like when my parents got divorced, I thought, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So you weren't exactly like impacted by it, or maybe you
Uh,
were, but like you just didn't take it
I,
that way.
I'm sure everybody is impacted when their parents get divorced.
Obviously, yes.
I didn't feel anything about it, or at least I don't think I remember feeling anything about it.
Right.
When they got divorced, I thought, you know what? No, they don't really see any each other at all anymore. Like they're definitely not in love with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I see no reason why they should be together. So not a. I would consider it more of an odd response from a 13-year-old.
Interest. Yeah, like more like a logical response than
Yeah,
a than an emotional response.
I didn't think like, oh no, my parents are getting divorced or how it made me feel. I'm just like, yeah, that's your business, right? I'm gonna go watch Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna go be a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. I mean, I guess like how else do you? There isn't a right or wrong way to absorb that information at that age, right? Like, there's many ways that you could take that and deal with it in whatever way makes the most sense at the time, I suppose, right? But
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so we covered the depression, kind of. we covered we covered the anger stuff. I went to go back and talk about that time in school. You said right when you were there. Was that when you said the depression hit you? Was when you were already out in Saskatchewan?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. For whatever reason, I thought you meant high school. Um, yeah, when I was out in Saskatchewan, that's when I knew the depression was
Was
there.
that like the first year you were out there, Mike, or the second year, or
Like
both?
I moved out here when I was 18, turning 19.
Yeah.
So it was a couple years after 2021 is when I'd say it first came up.
So like this year.
No, no, not 20.
You said
When I
2021.
was when I was
When
20
you were
or
20,
21.
comma 21. I was
Exactly.
like, wait a second, what? Yeah, okay. Fair enough, fair enough. So what was that like dealing with that? Did you know what it was? Like,
No, no, like for the as far as I can remember back, like uh I didn't have these negative feelings at all. Like even when I was in high school, they were very fleeting. When I had a negative emotion, it's like, oh, X person does not like me, that makes me feel sad. um you know what, I'm going to go and hang out with Taylor for a day, and then tomorrow I would forget all about it.
Yeah,
Now it was
I had
essentially
that
like
effect on people.
exactly.
Sorry,
uh,
continue.
so going into 20 comma 21,
I got you.
uh it was like that feeling, but it never went away, and it just got worse. So I was always
Mm,
carrying around dread. um I thought, like, there's really no point in what I'm doing. I'm not getting anywhere with what's going on.
right.
um I am not happy with almost any regard in my life. And at the time too,
Shit.
I also, yeah, for all you listeners, I got married extremely young. I was married at
Yeah.
20.
You
So
were 20, right, Mike?
I was,
Yeah.
yes. Uh, so at that point, yeah, I definitely should have been happy, but I was definitely not.
Yeah.
So things that, for example, marriage, like, yes, that day definitely I was very happy on that day.
Of
But yeah,
course.
soon after I was, figured I should be continuing to be happy, and nothing really seemed to make me happy anymore. A lot of my interests, I played a lot of card games back then,
Mm-hmm.
uh, fell apart because I didn't really, it didn't bring me any joy to do any of that. Playing video games, going outside for bike rides, hiking, none of it really made me happy. So for the most part, I would do what I had to do, which is either work or school at the time. I would go home and just wait for the next day.
Right.
So that was when I knew something was up, because I never felt that way before, and it didn't just go away on its own like all my problems have in the past. They just kind of,
Past. Yeah.
they pass, right?
Right. Right. But this
So
one was prolonged
exactly.
and wasn't leaving, regardless of what you did.
Yeah,
Um, from the sounds of it, it seems like you felt like you're a bit lost. I think.
pretty much. Yeah, I didn't know what the purpose was for anything that I was doing, so
Yeah.
everything
Like
just felt
you
very
know.
dull.
Yeah. Like he got married, which is a huge thing in anybody's life. And
Yeah.
you said you were happy in the moment, obviously, like anybody would be. But then you thought that would continue, but it didn't,
Mhm.
right? And then you're in school for this thing that you think you're wanting to do, but that's not bringing you joy either. And like so, all these things that should be lining up in your life aren't lining up right now.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think a lot of people can relate to that. In terms of depression, I know I can certainly. When you talk about this sort of thing, I feel the same way about a lot of things, right? Like
Mm.
I do a lot of things to keep myself active and focused and happy, but sometimes it's fleeting, and sometimes I feel lost, and I think we all kind of feel that way. But thank you for describing that for us, Mike. I'm sure a lot of people appreciate and can hopefully relate to what you went through out there in that time.
I, I I hope I described it well. Like I said, I don't often describe anything that I am feeling, so this is still all new to me. Uh, so yeah, if I,
Hey man, one
if you
step
need
at a
more
time.
clarification, yeah, if you
One
need
step at a time.
clarification, by all means, feel free to pry, and I can try to do better.
Sure, absolutely, man. Thank you for being so willing. You know, if it's not clear by now, people, um, Mike doesn't do this very often.
No.
And so when he asked me to come on the pod, I was surprised. I was like, wow. I mean, I would have asked you anyways, obviously, but like, and I would have. Um, but I know Mike, and I know that he doesn't talk about a lot of this stuff because it just, not that it doesn't occur to him or anything like that. He's not a man of steel, but like he just, like we said earlier in the pod, it's just something that you don't really know how to do or really want to do, I guess. But you're learning,
I,
you're trying, and it seems like you're trying and you're learning to do it a bit more, I think.
I definitely am. Like I said, I don't do this, so I don't know how to do it. So I don't know how to express anything I'm feeling as well. I don't want to be a burden or a bother to anybody else.
Right.
So it's essentially I just keep the status quo where I don't
Isn't
make
that a
other
weird
people.
complex, eh, Mike?
Yeah, like the more I learn about mental health, I'm like, I mean, you're not a burden on anybody
No,
for
no.
doing this at all. It actually helps other people, including yourself.
Yeah,
But
man,
it's
absolutely.
the way I thought when I was younger, was younger as in even last year, that yeah, whenever I disclose an issue or a problem to someone, I am putting a huge burden on that person. So I would rather just not.
Hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people that aren't aware of um, expressing themselves, or who haven't really gotten anything out of therapy, or haven't been to therapy, or maybe don't have friends that experience mental health illnesses on a regular basis, like like we do. Um, yeah, they tend to feel that way. I think, especially at an early age when you don't really know. There's no immediate outlet for those emotions or those questions you have. So you kind of just feel like every time you do release it, you're just putting a burden or a stress on somebody, because you're like, oh, like I don't want to put this on you. Like this is what I'm dealing with, and then you feel bad for putting it on them. But it's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
no, but it's like you should just feel free to let it out, because it's better to let it out than it is to keep it in. Like it's self sabotage to keep it inside,
Yeah. I would
right?
definitely agree.
And the more you express it to people, doesn't matter who it is, honestly. Like it could be a friend, an acquaintance, or whoever. I'm sure they'll understand, or if they don't understand, they'll at least try. Yeah, it's just reaching out and expressing yourself is a good thing.
Mm,
It helps you, it helps the person that you're talking to understand you better from where you're coming from, and it just makes it a little bit easier to deal with, I believe.
for sure. Yeah.
Okay, Mike, so the next segment we have, oh wait, sorry, one last thing, the autistic stuff, we didn't
Oh
touch that.
yes. No.
So talk about that a bit. What does
Uh,
that mean what does that mean to you right now?
uh, I get not much because, like I said, I didn't think it really impacted my life at all until
Sure.
recently. There's been a lot of times where I don't understand an emotion somebody is going through. I don't understand a situation that's been happening to them, um, or I'm not picking up on social cues. So I'm very blunt when I speak to people. I don't understand a nuance in a room, for example.
Okay.
So my wife did call out a lot of these circumstances. And yeah, by the way, I'm definitely referencing my wife a lot because she's generally the one who notices these things. Uh, so
They tend to notice these things.
yes, yes, she is extremely curious by nature. So she was wondering why I wasn't getting these things, because it wasn't that you pointed out, okay, I now know, and away we go. It was I would keep doing it over and over again. So she looked into it and she was like, hey, like I found these few tests online. I want you to go and try them out. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? I like doing
Hmm.
these. I like doing tests. Um, so every test I got, it said I was autistic, and I'm like,
Interesting.
I felt offensive at it. I'm like,
You're like, come on.
no, that's not
No.
right. Right, and then you read exactly what it is, and it's not. Some sites will say it is. There's no varying degree of autism. You're either autistic or you're not. It's like, well, technically that's true, right? But there's different ways it comes about in people, and it
Sure.
affects
Yeah,
people
yeah.
differently, right? So
Yeah, it's not black and white. There's like a whole spectrum of colors to autism. Like it's not
oh, for
just like
sure.
you're autistic, that's it. But what does that
Yeah.
mean? There's a whole, like, I'm sure you can explain it because you've been delving into it, it sounds like. But like, to my understanding, there's a whole spectrum to it of
Yep.
varying degrees.
Exactly. Yeah. So it really does depend. Like, there's some people who are autistic and they can't care for themselves,
Right.
uh, and I'd like to say I'm not that, which is I'm very thankful for.
Hmm.
But there's other people where I I want to say it hits them lightly, so they're afflicted lightly by it, so they won't. I mean, they won't pick up on many social cues. They might be awkward a lot around different types of people. Um, a lot of things that usually manifest too is you'll have an extreme interest or an obsession in very few hobbies or uh, I get interests in your life,
Sure, sure.
uh, and they definitely do border on an obsession.
Yeah,
So there's very different things that autism affects in people. And for all the anti-vax moms, it is not a bad thing. It is completely fine.
yeah,
Very many people who are autistic are extremely successful and live fantastic lives. So uh,
exactly. And they're pretty logical too. Like they're
ge-
pretty smart.
that's where I'm like, I want to say yes because yes, they I like facts. I like stats. They are fantastic.
Hmm.
They're fun to me even, and from seeing from going on and seeing different people who have autism, they are similar. They do like stats, figures, logic. Uh, I'm not sure if that's because we have problems with emotional intelligence, but
Yeah,
it definitely correlates well with everybody seems to like numbers, I guess.
yeah. It's kind of like what's the whole like left brain, right brain thing?
Yeah, I
To a
see
certain
that to
degree, I
me.
guess.
Yeah,
You know, like is the left the creative one and right's the logical one? I can't remember which one's which.
as far as the expression goes, it's the opposite to my knowledge.
Okay, so right's the creative, left's the logical.
Yeah, like emotional logical.
Got it.
Uh,
So it seems like in your case of autism, I don't want to make a broad generalization here, but in your case of autism, it seems like you're more in touch with that side of the brain that's logical than emotional.
I would say I'm forced to because, like I said, I don't have the greatest emotional capacity. I don't know what I'm doing. No one has given me an instruction booklet
Yeah,
on how to feel, so
sure.
I've never done it. Right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's I wasn't yeah. It's an illness, right? Like that's what it is. And it's just like it's something that you can control. It's like this is just who you are.
yeah,
And it's not for lack of trying, I'm sure, because I'm sure you're trying at least now to understand a bit more, right?
I am. Yeah.
You're taking the steps, it seems like. So it's interesting, Mike. It seems like this kind of for lack of a better term, wraps everything together. Like
Uh,
everything kind
It
of
it
lines up now that we've talked about it, you know?
it is essentially like the missing jigsaw piece that fits doesn't mean that it's correct though, right? So like
Sure, sure.
that's where the a doctor could diagnose me with
Yeah,
something and it very
you
well
can get
could be
that
something different.
definitive answer, right? If
Exactly.
you wanted it, but like it just seems like I don't want to say like all signs point to Lauderdale, great song by the way. Um but like going back to like you know, back into your childhood, like you not being able to express yourself properly and keeping everything to yourself, you know, that obviously correlates with what you just said with the emotional thing
Hmm.
and not pick up on the social cues or whatever and feel like a burden, like that seems to me like it falls on that autistic spectrum that you fall in, right? To
Everything
me at least.
does, right? Like I said, it can mimic other things as well. It could be just that I am completely normal and healthy, but I'm just very awkward. Like it could
Socially
even,
inept.
yes. Uh, the reason why I don't think it's that is because when I learn of something, like a skill, essentially, like emotional intelligence is a skill that is learned.
Yes.
Um, when I gain a skill, I can do that no problem, and I'm generally very capable of doing so.
Yeah.
But when it comes to anything with emotional intelligence, I have a lot of trouble with it, and I seem to forget a lot of things, or um, impulsivity takes over and I don't think about it.
Right. It doesn't come as easily to you as some other things do.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Interesting, man. Interesting. Well, let's move into our next segment there, Mike. I think we covered some good ground there. People have a better idea of what you've been dealing with through that timeline you described. So let's get into I like to call this segment the real reels.
Ah, yes, the real reels.
And I'm sure you've listened to a few episodes, Mike, so you know the real reels.
I do.
Um, it's kind of like, and I've been saying this like for the last couple episodes now, so I'm sure listeners and viewers know already what it is. But in case I have any new listeners or new viewers, I will just specify so
Oh,
that you
very
guys
good.
know. Um, the real reels is my segment where I'm really trying to push boundaries with this. Um, and this is kind of why I started the podcast in the first place. Honestly, it's just to like make these kind of subjects of conversation more normalized, like on a dated like. And this is going to be like hard for you, Mike, obviously, because you don't talk about this very often. But this is the thing, right? Like, I'm trying to make this more prevalent in society because mental health is a huge thing that happens in today's world and has been for years. If I'm being honest, and nobody's really dealt with it properly. And it's not until honestly, Mike, I would say the last maybe 5 years where I've really seen some development and some push forward in the mental health community. Like people actually taking it seriously. And it's like it's a real fucking thing that people deal with. It's just like breaking an arm. It's the same thing. Like it's a health thing. It's like the brain is the most vital organ in your body and it gets sick,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And so often, you see people talk, like if they meet up or with their friends or whatever, or just you're at a coffee shop, and it's just like, why is it taboo to talk about these things? Like, why is it stigmatized? Why can't I go up to somebody and be like, you know what, like I tried to kill myself a few years ago and I'm, I wouldn't leave with that obviously, but like I wouldn't be scared to
I,
like
I wouldn't leave with that either. Very good.
like I've got the social cues to know that's not where you start a conversation with somebody. But
Good.
point being, I'm not scared to bring it up if someone asks, or if someone asks me how I am, I'm not going to hesitate to tell them how I actually am.
Mm.
Like there's, we're all guilty of it, obviously. I'm not saying that I mastered this fucking art because I haven't. But I think the point of this segment is just like, I have this platform with this podcast to have guests come on and express things that they wouldn't normally talk about on a regular day. And this segment in particular, the real reels, is sort of the deeper, darker shit, that society is deemed taboo or stigmatized for some fucking weird reason. Like we're supposed to feel bad about talking about this shit, even though like it happens to a lot of people. Anyways, I can go on a whole tangent about that, but that's basically the whole point of the segment. So yeah, Mike, feel free to go as deep as you want with this. I mean, like I don't pressure my guests to talk about because sometimes it's hurtful stuff, like it's stuff
Oh,
that
for
maybe they're
sure.
still
Yeah.
dealing with and stuff. So I never force my guests in this segment to like really dig deep unless they really want to, right? Um, but there's only real one question I have in this segment. It's just what are the hardest moments that you've had to face in your life so far? In terms of your mental health or in terms of just a personal struggle, like what strikes you as a couple of hard points in your life that are difficult to deal with?
See, that's where it's an issue here, is because I think I've had a very easy life as far as everything's concerned.
Sure.
Um, so trying to think of moments where they've been my darkest, I'm like, nothing really comes to mind. Uh, like I've had many deaths in my family. All of them have affected me for a couple days after that, and that was about it.
Do you want to
Um,
talk about those or?
oh sure, like my mother's side, my grandma died. I was very close with her even at a young age,
Yeah.
and yeah, we actually hung out and played cards a lot together, which is kind of
Go
weird.
fish.
Uh, no, we played rummy.
Hey, nice.
Uh, so me and all the old Italian ladies would sit
Hell
around
yeah.
and play rummy. So
Love
very
that.
fun. She died. I was. I don't even remember being sad. I just kind of. I figured that okay, she's past
Yeah.
average life expectancy. She's going
Sure.
to die soon.
I think
So
grandparents are kind of sorry, Mike. I think go ahead. Are you done?
Yeah,
I
that
don't want
is
to cut
good.
you off.
That's all good.
I just wanted to add a point to that. I think with grandparents, obviously it's difficult because it's still a loved one. But I
Mhm.
think at that point, like, you know that they lived a full life at least, right? Like
Yeah,
once you get past 75, I'd say like that's a pretty good lifespan, I'd say,
you're getting
you
very
know,
close to average at that point. So yeah,
right? So like they lived quite a few years on this planet. It wasn't
yeah,
like they died early tragically, you know, like they lived a full normal life that everyone else lives. I mean,
pretty
I'm not
much.
taking
Yeah,
away like anybody who's lost their grandparents, obviously it's difficult, especially if you're
Mhm.
close to them, right? Some people aren't as close to them as others, you know.
Oh yeah,
Um, but yeah, anyways, it's one of those things where it's not like truly devastating, but I mean, it can be to some people. It varies on the person, but like, continue, Mike.
oh, that's okay. I lost my grandfather on my dad's side. He would be my non-biological grandfather, but he was the one that I remember growing up with a lot. Um, I lived with him for a couple years, I think it was. Like we all lived in the same house. So he was an even bigger part of my life because he lived with me. He died. I know I felt sad then because I
Yeah.
didn't think that like he was always a very fit kind of guy. So it didn't
Mm-hmm.
seem like he was close to death at all. But I think he died from cancer.
Ugh,
So yeah,
it's the worst.
so I remember being sad then, but it was sad for like a day, and I was over it. The worst one, when my dad died, and
Yeah.
I don't remember when he died. Now I know I was out here in
Yeah,
Saskatchewan.
you were out there. Yeah, I think it was 2013, 14.
I've always been very bad with years, um, but I've been out here for at least a couple years.
Maybe it was 2012.
Mm,
Because I remember it was shortly after you moved out there, wasn't it?
I thought I was out here. Either way, I'm not too sure. But
But yeah,
yeah,
point
that
being, it was
that was the worst one.
yeah,
Um, I remember I got the news because I was at work when I was informed about it, right? So I was with my journeyman at the time, and
yeah,
I was like, my dad died. He's like, oh, sucks. And I'm like, yeah, let's go install this air conditioner, right? He's all right. So
right,
nothing really hit me at that time, um, and
sure,
even for days afterwards, I didn't feel anything about it. Um, I know I was married because my wife it was my wife at the time. Um, maybe no, never mind. No, I'm not sure. I take that back.
it's okay,
So
it's okay.
my wife or girlfriend at the time,
Yeah,
she was concerned for me because I wasn't expressing any emotion whatsoever. It was just
yeah,
sort of like I read the news and then just continued on with my day.
right,
So yeah, I didn't know what. It, I didn't feel anything about it. Uh, I remember one night though. Uh, I don't remember what brought it on. I was just thinking about something, and I realized that yeah, my dad can't be there to share an experience or something like that with me, and yeah,
right,
I got very upset at that. So I cried for a bit. I want to say maybe an hour or two,
yeah,
but that after that, all my emotions were out and I felt normal again.
right.
So and never thought about it ever after that. So
I
I've
think
not
your
been
body was
sad
probably
about
just
it.
in shock. It sounds like,
Seems like it. Yeah, I would
like
say.
it's a hard thing to swallow. Like, especially, I can't imagine not being there either.
Hmm. Well,
Or
oh,
like,
that's the thing though. I chose not to be there. So that's where it's different. I knew my dad was dying because he went to the hospital with liver cirrhosis, and he and I talked about it before because he's been in the hospital a couple of times, and
yeah,
he has stated that he doesn't like people visiting him in the hospital because now they see him as sick or unable.
sure,
um, and he would prefer it if nobody visited him in the hospital, so they think about him when he is healthier. Uh, Healthier. He was never
yeah.
really healthy, but when he was healthier,
When he wasn't
um,
in the hospital.
when he wasn't in the hospital, yes. So I I remember that I said, well, he said he doesn't want me there, so I'm not gonna go. And my mom, she wasn't too pleased with that answer.
Yeah,
She's like, you
I
should,
remember this conversation.
yeah. You should come back. You should visit him. It'll be the last time you're able to see him.
Yeah.
And it's like he doesn't recognize people anyway. He's out of it. His wishes were to not have people there. So
Right. See, you were
I
just trying to
will,
respect his wishes.
yeah, that's what he said. So whether he
Yeah.
felt that way or not, I don't know. But that's what he
Sure.
told me. So I said, okay, well, I'll respect that.
Yeah. I meant more like not there in the moment, but just like even afterwards. Like, did you go back for the funeral?
There, I don't think there was a funeral. I'm not too sure actually.
It was just like a cremation, and then like a
He was cremated. Um,
was it just like a gathering, like a family gathering, maybe or something?
I honestly I don't remember.
Yeah. It
I
was.
did not go back obviously, so
Yeah.
I'm not too sure what they did.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I just all I know is that he was harvested and then cremated.
Yeah. I mean, regardless, like you got the news and you weren't anywhere close to being with the family or being near him.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I can't imagine what that's because, when my parents passed away, I was there, right? Like I got to grieve instantly because we were living in the same place,
Yeah.
right? But having that happen to somebody and then like you not even being anywhere near him or the family or anything when that happened, clearly you were in shock. I feel
Yeah.
like especially because you don't really know how to express yourself that well, you just kind of bottle it in like you always would, or from what it sounds like to me at least,
Yeah.
being one of your friends on the outside looking in.
Yeah. I think that's
It's
safe to say.
it seems like you just bottle it in, which is a totally normal thing to do, not healthy, but not unusual. And then it came out of you, like when it finally hit you, probably in a moment of like, what was the moment? Do you remember like when you were like, oh, he can't be there?
But that was it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it had to have been something like this is something I could share with him, an
Yeah,
experience or an accomplishment, anything like
right.
that. And it's like,
Yeah,
oh yeah, he's not
he's
here.
not here
So
anymore.
yeah.
That's tough, man. That's tough. So that's a dark moment for you.
Hmm. Oh yeah. But
Um,
other than those, I'm not sure what other dark moments I've really
I'll
had.
I'll take a stab at this.
Yeah,
I mean,
please.
this is your episode, but I feel like I will help guide you through it
You
as your
also you
friend.
know a lot. You have a way better memory of this than I do too. So
It's
if
funny you
you
say that because all my friends here would tell you that I have a shit memory. So
that goes to show how bad my memory actually is.
it was,
Then.
oh, by extension.
Hmm.
But yeah, we've been friends for quite a few years now, so I have some knowledge of what happened in each other's lives, obviously. So obviously the loss of your dad was going to be something I was going to bring up, but I'm glad that you were able to talk about it. 'Cause that's a lot to go through it, and regardless of any age you are, or
Hmm.
regardless of how you absorb it or don't absorb it, like it's still a traumatic event that happened to you, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Um, I would say another big one that I saw you go through personally, because that happened to you when you were in Saskatchewan. I wasn't with you when that happened, so I didn't see what it looked like to you. But talking from personal experience, the one thing that I can remember is watching you go through what we had to go through in high school together, um, with the drinking stuff. And
You might
then
have to narrow that down.
I know I'm trying to think of like a specific moment.
Oh, fair.
I remember there being a moment where this is before Cat, you were seeing somebody, or you were like really in love with this person or something like that, and like it didn't work out, or they broke up with you or something. I can't remember who it was, honestly. Somebody important or somebody that you wanted to be important, uh, was no longer in the picture. And I remember you were visually upset about it, and I remember you drank quite a bit more than usual that night.
Mm.
And that was kind of the first time that I saw you emotional, like really emotional. And I know it's going to be digging deep for you to
That's the point of the reels.
yeah.
Uh, I can think of one moment where I remember being sad.
Yeah, go for it.
It was in high school. It might
Hmm.
have been it was the night before the week long party. Um,
The infamous week-long party.
the yes.
Oh
Um,
God.
so if my mom is listening, I remember this.
Joanne, I'm
I
sorry.
sorry, the house is fine by the way. Um,
ten,
so
10 years later,
it's still fine.
it's
Uh,
still there.
I remember I whatchamacall, I was infatuated with a girl at the time. I think, how old was I? 16, 17?
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think.
Yeah. So I was definitely infatuated with somebody at the time,
Yeah.
and she expressed similar feelings towards me. However, instead, when I went to go visit her later, she decided that, you know what, I'd rather not. I'm going to go back with my abusive ex boyfriend. And I was like, okay. So I took that, right to heart, because like she would rather be someone who abuses her than with me. So
Yeah.
like, okay, I am at that point. I think, as a teenager, and I don't know anything. At the time, I didn't. That she values me lower than an abuser. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Fuck.
I don't feel very good about that.
Yeah.
So I remember expressing that to you and to the group, I guess, at the time.
Yeah, it
And I
was me,
told
Kirko, Sam. There was a bunch of us there, I think. It was at Kirko's house, I believe.
it was because I know I was not at home, and typically
Yeah.
we went to my mom's place
Yeah.
because I remember calling my mom and I said, you know what, like I am going. I don't remember what I told her, but I'm not. I told her I'm not going on the vacation with her and the family up to the cottage. That I'm just going to stay at the house. Um, she fought back, but eventually agreed. So they went up, and then we just drank for 7 days in a row and hosted a party at my house for those 7 days.
Dude.
Um,
Man, looking back at that, man, like I kind of view this half and half, if that makes sense. Like half of me loves that moment because we
yeah,
did have a lot of good times in that week, but there was just so much drama and so much negativity surrounding it too at the same time.
well, it's sad as well. Like we we were literally drunk for 7 days,
Like
right? So
continuously. Like
yeah,
we're not exaggerating. Like wake
waking
up,
up,
drink.
drinking, and then going, throughout the day, and then continuing that because you don't want the hangover the next day.
Yeah,
So
for a
you want
week
to just
straight.
for a week.
I
The
lived at
local
Mike's house for a week. I did not leave for 7 days. I slept
was
in his guest room for 7 days. My aunt almost kicked me out of my house. Do you remember that, Mike?
I actually don't remember that part.
Dude, I remember the fourth day. Sorry, we're getting off on a little tangent here, but I think the listeners will enjoy this story. The fourth day of the party, I remember waking up, cracking open a fucking bottle of vodka or some shit, like we were like we were all doing at like 10 in the
Nice.
morning. Doing like some lemon drop shots or some shit at 10 in the morning to get the day started, Typical high school shit.
Yeah.
And my aunt phones me and goes, "Where are you? You haven't been home in 4 days. Blah 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 blah. Do you even respect me?" Like, Angelo, if you're watching, I'm sorry. This was 10 years
That
ago.
is not her voice, by the way.
No, it's not. It's not. It was a bad impersonation. Um, but yeah, she was like freaking out and shit like that, and she was like, "If you don't come home right now, you could just forget about it. Like, you could stay there." And I'm like, "Okay, bitch, I'll stay here then." you know. Um, so Mike graciously and drunkenly offered to for me to live at his house for like a big chunk of time. I don't know how long you said I could live there for, but you're like, yeah, you could stay with me. And I'm like, sick, thanks, Mike.
Until
And
my
then I
parents kick you out, that's
pretty
cool.
much, yeah. So I proceeded to live at your house for the rest of that week. And I think even a day after your parents got back, I think I was there, but then I think I had to go home and face the wrath.
Fair enough, deserved and fair.
But
Uh,
anyways, point being, yeah, what a crazy experience that was.
yeah.
But yeah,
So I
that was
remember feeling pretty bad about the initial incident.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, of course.
so yeah, I felt like she rejected pretty much all of me. It's not, you know,
Yeah, well, I mean,
now
how
I
else do you
looking,
take that, right?
well, yeah, like I mean, I've been turned down before and nothing really, everything was fine. I had no
Yeah,
problems with it, right?
yeah.
This to me was different because it's a new situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I didn't understand how to feel.
Sure.
So I drank for 7 days. Uh,
Yep.
not a healthy habit, by the way. Do not endorse that scenario.
Yeah, would not recommend anybody do
No,
that for a
no,
cure for sadness because it just doesn't work.
it didn't help either.
It
Um,
just brought you more sadness
it, I'm not sure if it
or
brought me
numbness, I guess,
more,
really.
but yeah, I was pretty numb.
Yeah, I just numbed
uh,
to the whole thing, right? And I will say um, that, I mean, I don't, do I know this girl?
no, she went to a different school.
School,
Funny,
okay.
haha. But no, she actually did go to a different school.
She went to a different school. Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
just got that joke. That's funny. Um, like I said, I don't know this girl, but, you know, we don't know what her situation was. And I'm not trying to defend what she did to you, but I'm just saying, like, we don't know what her situation was. Maybe, you know, she was wrapped up in something that she shouldn't have been wrapped up in, clearly. Um, you know, doesn't reflect good on you, but doesn't, you know, again, I don't want to say it was completely her fault either, because like I don't know what her story was, neither do you. But regardless, it happened, and you had to take it in whatever way you took it, right?
yeah,
At that age, and you know, point being, it led you down a dark path that led to a 7 day long binge fiasco party that will go down forever as one of the most legendary parties we've ever had.
definitely an interesting time. Let's say that.
Oh man, we could start a whole other podcast just about that week
If I could remember it, yes.
if I can remember it.
We have other people to
I think we
collaborate
have
with
other people
us.
that weren't as drunk as us that could probably tell
Yes.
us, because
Oh
you and I
yes.
were by far the drunkest in that party, probably. Like,
Yes.
yeah, I can't really think of anybody else in that group that got as drunk as you and I did. Drinking buddies for life, or well, not anymore. I'm trying to stop
Uh,
drinking, and you've stopped drinking, so
I have not drank for a couple years now, I believe.
that's great, man. Good for you.
Yeah. And even
Yeah,
then, before, not so much. Like I stopped drinking heavily when I moved out here, um, mainly because like it coming out here, looking around the what is the scene here in Saskatchewan? It's you can go to the bars and drink, or you can buy very overpriced alcohol and sit at your home and drink.
right.
There's no big nightlife or anything like that to do. It's essentially you're drinking here, and it's extremely sad to see all these people just congregate into a bar, drink, and then be sad and go home. Uh,
Right.
it doesn't seem like fun to me, so I picked up on that
Yeah.
quite fast.
You don't really want that kind of
No,
lifestyle, or do
no,
you want to take on that kind of lifestyle? Because where does that lead you? Nowhere really.
yeah,
I would say
that's
everything
pretty
in
much it.
moderation. I mean, like if you acknowledge that you have a problem, like, and you don't have any control, then it's probably best that you stop.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you binge every once in a while, and it's like you have control of it, but maybe it's teetering on being a problem, like I feel like I fall in that category, and maybe Mike kind of falls in that category too. You can speak for yourself, Mike, if you don't agree with that point. But if you feel like you had a problem, then you had a problem. I know I did, obviously, but I think now I'm in a good place with drinking. You know, I enjoy beer. You know, like it's not like I need it. I just enjoy it now,
Oh,
right? So
for
it's
sure.
okay. It's
Yeah.
okay in moderation, but like I said, if you have a real problem, or you know that when you start drinking you can't stop, then you should probably not do it.
Yeah, and like I don't know if I start to drink again if I'm going to be
A
wanting
raging
to
alcoholic?
continue. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to, try it and find out.
No, of
I'm just going
course.
to avoid the situation. But like, I still, this is like every now and again, maybe like once every year or two, I will buy non-alcoholic beer because like,
Sure.
again, yeah, I like the taste of it now. So
Yeah,
sure, I'll buy that. It
beer's good.
doesn't do anything. It tastes fine. I'm going out this Friday, and I'm going to a meeting for one of my colleagues who is retiring. Um,
Nice.
so yeah, I these are the people I associate with. I'm very young and I work still. So he's retiring. I'm going there. They're having a small get together. Um, and yeah, I'm going to be bringing non-alcoholic beer there.
There you go.
So yeah, just to socialize, I guess would be the term.
Sure, sure. Yeah, the last time I saw you drink was like 4 years ago, I want to say, Mike, when we were in Vancouver together.
Yeah, that
And we
was
went,
fun.
that was a good time, man. But again, like we had like 3 beers and that was it.
Yeah, it wasn't much,
Yeah, it was
just
just
enough.
enough. Just enough.
Mhm.
And it was great because we saw the Bare Naked Ladies that night.
Man, greatest pop up, quote unquote, for me, pop up concert.
It was
Ooh,
awesome.
that was great.
It
Yeah.
was so cool, like how everything worked out, man. Like, sorry, we've got a lot. Mike and I got a lot of stories, dude.
we
We need like 2 parts of this podcast just to cover all the stories we've been in.
get back on the real reels. We'll take it back again.
Yeah, yeah. Let me finish that. Let me finish that one story, and then we'll go. Um,
Okay.
it's my podcast, Mike. We'll do. No,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kidding.
Do
It's
what you
your
did.
episode. It's your episode. Well, we'll get back to the mental health stuff. It's obviously very important. That's why we do the podcast. But
Hmm.
last little fun story was just uh Mike and Kat came to like I I'm gonna try and keep this brief because it's a long story. But basically, I lived in the UK for a year with then girlfriend. It didn't work out between us, and I had to come back home to Canada. And I made some friends out there in the UK when I was living there, and one in particular, Max. He's a really close buddy of mine, and he'd never been to Canada before. So I moved back. Then, like a month or two later, he came to visit me, and then I took him around Toronto and stuff, Niagara Falls, and then him and I flew out to Vancouver and pretty much lived in Vancouver for a month. we were there for I was there for 3.5 weeks and he was there for 3 weeks. So we pretty much stayed in Vancouver for a month and just like toured all of Vancouver and the coast of BC and Whistler and all that kind of stuff. And it just so happened, I think I was talking with you guys about it, and you guys were like planning a drive out there, or like you
And we
needed
were
a
planning
reason
to
to.
come. We were coming to visit you in Europe, and you said you were moving back. So okay, we canceled those plans, and then we had the time booked off anyway. So like,
Right.
well, what I didn't know what to do. So well, uh, my wife has always wanted to visit Vancouver. Same, I've always wanted to go and check it out.
Yeah.
So I decided to make the drive because I have parents that live out in BC. So sorry, grandparents. I'm not sure if I said that, but grandparents that live out there. So we decided, oh, we can visit them along the way and then go into across BC. And I'm not sure if we knew you were gonna be there or not. I can't
I'm
remember.
trying to remember if that was a surprise or if it was like, I feel like it might have been like the first week I was there. I was messaging you guys or something, and then you guys were like, "You're in Vancouver right now," and I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Okay, we're coming to get you or coming to see you," or whatever. I'm like,
That
"Sick."
that sounds accurate.
Yeah, and then you guys drove out to Vancouver, and then we like chilled for about a week. I want to say, right?
Yes, we went out there for almost 2 weeks, and I think we were there for your final week in
Yeah,
Vancouver.
for my final week there. Yeah, exactly. And we had a great time. It was awesome. I really miss that week so badly. It was so much fun. I miss anything before the pandemic, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, anyways, point being, they showed up, like Mike and Kat, and Max and I were together. Oh, and I had a friend from Ontario who was also randomly in Vancouver at the same time. And I had no idea she was there. I hadn't talked to her in like a year. Um, And it was late one night, and Max and I got home, and I was scrolling on Instagram, and I see a story from her in Vancouver, and I was like, wait a second, is Rebecca in Vancouver right now? So I shoot her a message. I'm like, hey, are you in Vancouver? And she's like, yeah, like I'm here on vacation. Blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I'm in Vancouver right now. And she's like, what? We gotta meet up. So like the next day we met up with her. She's like, this is so crazy. And then we like hung out all day. And then Mike and Kat showed up later that day, and it was a whole group of us. And it was just like, the universe just worked out that day. It was great. And then on top of all of that, there was like this cool concert going on, like on a beach in Vancouver. And the Bare Naked Ladies were headlining. And we all just like walked to this beach and like got tickets and went in and had some brewskis and watched Bare Naked Ladies on the beach. Like it was awesome.
Very fun. I
It
do
was
miss
very
that
fun.
vacation. Yeah.
Very, very fun. But yeah, Mike, let's finish up the real reels. Any other hard moments? Let's shift from like the most positive to back to the negative.
uh,
So we
I
covered
would
your family deaths. Was there anything like personal struggle wise that you dealt with that was hard for you? I mean, you said the depression in school.
like other than like funding, like you know, having enough money. No, not really. None that I can really think of. The only thing that it's this is recently, like in the past month, I lost a friend. Um,
Mm,
maybe a poor choice of wording. I ended a friendship,
sure, sure.
and it's not something I've ever done before because
It still feel
generally
like
it's
losing a friend, so it wasn't wrong terminology.
yeah. I lose a friend because I still really like to be in that person's company. They're extremely fun. I'm not going to name anybody,
Nope, nope.
but I during the pandemic specifically, I did a lot of, I guess, growing as a person.
Yeah,
This is a part of it, by the way, trying to express myself more. So I learned a lot more, and I started to realize that a lot of the behaviors I had were very inappropriate, especially in a more progressive society. So a little bit of more backstory. When I
sure.
moved out here, I went from Toronto, fairly uh, liberal or left-leaning city,
Yeah,
to
progressive
Regina.
city.
Yeah, it's definitely progressive. To Regina, which is a backwater. So it's extremely conservative here. Um,
Yeah,
it is a culture shock, pretty much, just moving a couple provinces over in Canada.
yeah,
But slowly over time, and I didn't realize it, that culture, I took it in a part of my own, as you usually do when you live in a place for so long. You
yeah.
absorb the culture, it becomes a part of you.
Of course.
So I started to have a more conservative mindset. So I guess terms alt right would come to mind. So I started to listen to a lot of more alt right news sources, different people online, looking up even just any story. I had a very, or not a very, but more conservative mindset to it. I didn't give nuance to anything. I didn't want to hear anybody else's side of the story, nor did I think it was important because what was portrayed to me was correct. Um,
Right.
and the friends I made were all similar because that's where I live. So, it kept, I would say it got worse because I consider it more of a disease, if anything. So I during the pandemic stopped seeing everybody as you do, and I just started to learn more about different things, and I realized that a lot of the views I had were extremely negative, detrimental to myself, to other people around me, all of general society. So I tried to express these views and my findings with the people I know. They were easily met with ridicule.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, well, okay, I get it. It's all jokes here. It's really funny, but
Yeah.
these are serious topics to me. But
Yeah.
again, still ridicule. So it was very recently, like I said, past month, I met up with my friends a couple times and talked to him about major issues. And I guess this would be trigger words for people. But I talked a lot about things like racial injustice, humanitarian issues,
Yeah.
um, slavery, things like that.
All
So
important things.
very important and definitely bigger subjects, not usually the small stuff you talk to other people about, like in the coffee shop.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
small talk.
no, I did not lead with I've been extremely how did you describe it? I tried to kill myself the other day. I didn't lead that way.
Didn't lead that way.
We eased into it.
Maybe you should have.
Maybe I should have,
Cut
but
right to the chase.
eased into it.
Sure.
And yeah, I found that his views were extremely polar to my own.
Right, right.
So tried to take them into account, explain it in different ways, see
Yeah.
what he was feeling, um, asking him why he felt in those various aspects. And after a couple of talks with him, I realized that he, like, our meant like we are just not compatible as people, right? And it's very sad because, like I said, I still would love to be this person's friend if we just,
Of course.
we shared similar interests. But at this
Yeah.
point, feel I can't feel good about it. The way I would express it, and I'm not saying anything about this person in particular, right?
Sure.
Um, but if you found out your friend was racist and they practiced racism, I wouldn't feel comfortable hanging out with that person. Right?
Yeah, absolutely not.
Even if they're not racist towards me or anybody that I know, any of my family, they're model citizen. But if I know that they are, racist, I don't want to be associated with that person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, not saying that's just an example. That is not what I'm saying about this person in particular. But
Yeah.
um, big issues like that lead me to say, I need to step away and end it. And I'm still very upset about that. Sorry if I did a ramble on about it,
No, it's good,
but
man.
yeah, I'm still dealing with it because like I've been going into work later to avoid seeing this person because
Oh wow.
I don't know how to deal with the aftermath of it. I'm not sure what protocol is there. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just, I would like to be friendly towards them like I do with everybody else at work. But
Yeah, like be civil about it, but it's tough
yeah,
though, like, morally you just don't line up anymore. Or maybe
exactly.
never lined up and you're just realizing that now.
Yeah, I'd say more along those lines for sure. Right? So I think I was severely misguided when I was younger.
Sure.
Um, but
As we
you
all
know,
are.
yeah, exactly. Right.
Like everyone's
Uh,
guilty of it in some form of another.
yeah, it's just the difference is I tried to learn from it to make understanding of it, and it seems like a lot of people here are more dead set in their ways and unwilling to hear two sides of a story at the very least. So
Yeah.
I don't appreciate that mentality.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things, like if you can't align with somebody on that level, how do you look past that, right?
That's all I see at that point. Yeah,
Exactly. It just becomes like it's so opaque. It's just like this is all I can see now.
yeah,
This is like this is the definition of who you are because I know that you do these things and like it morally just doesn't line up with what you have discovered in yourself now, right? And like you can't look past that with somebody even if you've been friends with them for presumably a couple of years now, I'm guessing.
yeah. I've been friends with them for like 7 years. Yeah,
So that's 7 years. It's a long friendship.
yeah.
And to have to end it like this is very tough. So yeah, that's a hard moment, man. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no problem. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, but there was some stuff in there that was positive, and that leads me to my next segment. So this is the rainbow segment.
This is the good one. This is the happy one.
Imagination. Yeah, so the rainbow segment is just kind of like coming out of the dark into the light, making progress, battling things that you were afraid to battle before, all that kind of stuff. And I think you touched a little bit upon it at the end there of the real reels. Um, but yeah, let's get into the more positive side of things. It seems like you've been doing a lot of self building. It seems like.
I have,
a lot
yeah.
of reflecting and a lot of developing. It seems like, which is great, man. That's really good to hear. So, Mike, are there any positive things that you've discovered or still discovering in your reflection or your building over the last year, 2 years, however long it's been since you've started moving forward?
I mean, now at this point, yeah, the good parts are I am now trying to express myself more. So I'm doing different things that I guess you could say like the typical male is not allowed to do in society, right? Or it's frowned upon, social faux pas, things like that. One of them would be growing my hair out longer. So I've started to do that because I did when I was a teenager, but
Yep, you and I had
after
quite the long hair in high school.
yes,
I
I
currently
want.
have quite the long hair.
So I would like to get my hair as long as that and even longer. Um,
Damn,
I would like to
do it.
see how long I can actually get it. I still want to keep it trim. As you can see, the sides are still fairly shaven.
Yeah,
Um,
got a nice fade there.
thank you, thank you. I have a fantastic barber here.
Hell yeah,
But yeah, I am growing my hair out longer, so I have not
that's cool.
much, but it's starting.
So
Uh,
self-expression.
exactly. I'm wearing a lot more color, which is I get very frowned upon here. It's like you're wearing gray, blue, or black, and like
That's boring.
those are man colors. Yeah. So like I'm wearing pink and like magenta. What's the
Yeah, dude.
orangey pink?
You're wearing a nice red color. It looks like now.
I'm wearing red. Yeah, like red is okay here. People will say okay, red's okay, but I'm wearing more
Interesting.
traditional.
That's a societal thing out there, eh?
Yeah, no,
It's so
it's big
weird.
here.
It's a very
So
sexist thing.
oh, like I wear whatchamacallit, I have a collared pink, like a checkered pink shirt, right?
Hell yeah,
And
that's
I
great.
think it looks great. It fits on me very nicely. I really like the color.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, wearing that around town, people are going to instantly assume that I'm gay. Which
Ugh.
again, nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Um, but like that's the level we're at here in Regina.
I see. I
So
see.
that's more a baseline for the viewers here. So I've been trying to break out of that more. Like even I use a handbag at work. It's essentially a laptop carrying bag, right? So the
Ah,
flat style.
like a satchel
It's like it doesn't have that side
or
strap
side
thing,
strap,
right? Yeah, it just has a handle.
like a
But
briefcase almost.
yeah, it's yeah, it's soft.
A little
It's
less
flat,
formal
like
than a briefcase.
yes, a lot less form in the briefcase. But I have that around, and I've been ridiculed extensively for it.
That's so dumb. It's a
Um,
bag.
that's all it is. It holds my work stuff. Like I have to do a lot of paperwork and use a tablet at work for when I go into other
Sure,
people's
yeah.
homes. So it holds all that stuff in there for me.
The fact that that's
Um,
even an issue, Mike, is like mind-boggling to me.
oh yeah, like and
But I'm glad that you're like pushing it forward though, and just doing it anyways, regardless of what they think.
yeah, I'm saying fuck it. Who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Like
I
I'm
don't
a
care what you
doobie,
think.
and
Exactly.
if it really concerns you that much, why? like it's my bag. Why is it affecting you? Or
And they
it's
could
my pink shirt, or it's like I can dress the way I want to dress. That's great, man. So I'm glad that you're
stay mad.
pursuing that. In terms of
Yeah,
like expressing yourself, like I mean, I guess this podcast is probably a big step for you.
this is definitely big. Something I have not done before. Like even with my wife, I don't express many emotions at all. Right. So when I
Right.
have a like when there's a disagreement of sorts, I say okay, and that's it. And that's same tone. Okay. And
Right.
shut down pretty much. Um, we do talk about it later for everyone. We have a very healthy relationship. Uh,
I was gonna say
but
you guys are great, and then like I'm sure you guys have a
yeah,
good communication system in place.
we do. It's usually initiated by her because yeah, like I said, my first initial response is to shut down,
Not deal with it.
don't talk about it, right? I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
No, no, no.
it, yeah, it now I am. trying to express more how I feel. Um,
Good.
if I want something or something is bothering me, I will now. I try to let it be known. I'm not saying that I do that all the time because it's still seldom, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, you're working towards it.
Yeah. So freedom of expression, as far as emotions go, I am working on it. Uh, Physical appearance, I am changing that too. So that is progression that I'm going through.
Cool.
So
That's
that
great.
would be the positive, I guess, about it.
That's amazing, man. And for this next question, I'm gonna just piggyback with what you just said for the last question.
Yeah.
Um, have you found any constructive ways or solutions or like coping mechanisms in dealing with some of the stuff that you're dealing with now? With like, discovering that you may be a bit autistic, the anger management stuff. Like, has there been any sort of uh, constructive uh, constructive
Ways to
ways.
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, do the
Okay.
deal. I was trying to think of the term and nothing was coming to my brain, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I did go to therapy for a little bit. Didn't like it because obviously I was not able to open up, so it didn't work out well for me. I
Right.
took antidepressant meds, which were worse because I gained 30 pounds and I can't lose it now. So don't in a month, by the way, 30 pounds in a month. The
Wow.
doctor was very surprised, as was I. So that didn't help much.
Sure.
So I decided to, look online for things like self-help, what to do, and yeah, all this very, very simple stuff: sleep properly, eat properly, drink lots of water, exercise, try to have a more positive outlook. You can try meditation, yoga. There's lots of things to do.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, I mean, I've always had a great sleeping schedule. So same 7 hours a night, same time to bed, same time to rise. Um, Exercise, I do it at my job, not a lot though. That's about it. Eating is on and off, healthy and unhealthy habits. I'm sure
Yeah,
everyone
I
can
think we're
relate
all
to
in that
that
boat.
one. Yeah. Um, but what I tried to do is just have a more positive outlook on things, or at the very least, don't be immediately negative.
Yeah,
And
like try to catch yourself in those moments before your direct thought is negative. Or
exactly,
like
yeah,
when you feel it developing in your brain, you go, stop, no, and then like,
yes,
you know?
that's all I've done, and that took a long time. Like it took many
Well,
months, so
yeah.
over a year, because like it would be, yeah, get upset at something. Okay, I need to step away, think about it. Why am I
Hmm.
upset? Ask yourself, why are you upset?
Yeah,
And
why does this
then
bother you?
yeah, and then sometimes you're just like, well, I don't have a good reason why it makes me upset. It doesn't make sense. It's like, okay, well, fair enough. Don't
Yeah.
be upset then. It's like, oh, okay.
All
I
right.
sometimes a lot of people are, it's not that easy, but that's the condensed over a year version of it, right?
Right.
So that that is what I've done to, yeah, have a better outlook on life as well. Um, but yeah, as far as things like medication go, I'm not on anything. Um, and I guess prescribed or unprescribed, I'm not on anything.
And
So
that's
it's,
okay. Like medication doesn't work for everybody, right? It's not
yeah,
always the answer.
it might work for me. I don't know. Like I tried one type of medication, like one
Right. There are like
antidepressant.
hundreds of medications.
Exactly. Yeah. So she's like, my doctor. She's like, yeah, tell me how you feel on these. It'll take like a month's time to actually like get some effects out of it.
Yeah.
Because they, yeah, like 2 to 4 weeks before you start to feel anything at all. And even then, it's very subtle. She explained all of it. Like, okay, cool. But regardless, I'm like, even if these things help or not, I'm not willing to gain any more weight. So
Yeah.
I'm not
Is
doing
that
it.
like that can't always be a side effect though, right? Like it's just the particular drug that you were on that caused that
It,
side effect,
it
or
must have been that one, right? Because she was
yeah,
extremely surprised that I gained that much weight.
bunch of
Because it's
weight,
a pound a day, right? And I
right? 'Cause
didn't
30
change my
pounds
eating
in a
habits.
month.
Actually, I didn't. Yeah, I think I might have changed my eating habits a little bit by eating less, a little bit less. Is that they do have a loss of appetite as well,
Right.
but they also have weight gain. So
Hmm.
I don't know. I can't
Interesting.
tell you what I was on either because I don't remember.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, after that, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this. You can try other ones, but I'm not willing to take them because if I have another instance of more weight gain, at that point, yeah, my ankles are just not going to be able to handle it. So
Yeah, I was gonna say it'll cause more stress and more damage than good.
at that point, yes, like I have a physical enough job. I still need to get up and work.
Yeah.
Um, so I am if I'm coming home at the end of the day and I'm unable to walk when I sit down, I can't continue on like that. Like I've done that enough for the many years. Um, so I was finally able to get to a place where I was fit enough to not have pain every day, which was lovely.
Which is
Um,
great. Yeah.
yeah. Now it's hit and miss, depends on the day, but generally it's pretty good now.
That's good,
So,
man. I was gonna suggest like with the anger stuff, like I think working out is like super important with that. I think because it's like
oh yeah.
taking any sort of residual frustration and getting it out in a productive or a positive way, right?
Mhm.
Any sort of pent up frustration or something like that. Like maybe get like a boxing bag or something.
Well, that was the thing. Like I really like boxing. It is
I
my
remember you
favorite.
saying that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite physical sport. Um, I had an incident when I was boxing before. This is many years back, um, where uh, I'm not sure if it was like a mild heart attack or what have you. But I hit the bag and I couldn't feel my hands. I went very hot all in my head. I could feel my
Whoa.
heart through my chest, and I was unable to move for a few minutes. So
Jeez.
after that, I was pretty scared about going into like any hard workout routines.
That's
Um,
crazy.
I did a little bit, like on and off. I would do different workout routines, especially around the house because we have a small home gym now. But going into a gym, I didn't want to do it there.
Yeah.
Uh, so if anything happened, I was in the comfort of my own home at least, so I can just chill out there.
Right.
But I was also extremely unhealthy back then too. So now I'm much more healthy. So I think you know what, my wife and I do want to go. She had been going to Muay Thai before the pandemic hit, and
Oh,
she really enjoyed
cool.
it there. So
That'd be good for you too.
yeah, she's going back, and I'm going to be joining her in Muay Thai.
There you
So
go.
it's not boxing, but you know what? That's
Yeah.
fine. It's a better fighting sport in my opinion.
There you go.
I just like boxing more. So
Yeah, and I think it's Muay Thai. Am I thinking of Tai Chi? That's the calming one.
yes,
Like it's
Muay
more position based or like pose based
Muay Thai
than
is more clinching, and I'll elbow you and knee you in the face.
right. Yeah, so Muay Thai is like the actual like MMA kind of stuff, right?
Yes, yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It's like the one most MMA fighters have because
Have
it's extremely good.
got it. I think that'll be a good outlet for you, man. I think that'll I think you'll start seeing the changes. I think when you start doing that more, I
I'd
believe
hope
so.
so.
Anyways,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think it will.
Hmm.
Okay, my friend. Well, I think that's about everything that I had for you today.
Good stuff.
Um,
Okay.
I always just like to ask the guests at the end of the pod if they have any final thoughts or feelings or anything you want to share with the listeners. It could be like a message of hope or any sort of advice, for people dealing with similar issues as yourself. Any final words from Mike Dent?
I'm good. Uh,
Can you imagine?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
no.
That's good.
Okay.
Um, so something I will say, learning more about things like, and I know people might get a little bit uppity about the topics of things like toxic masculinity. Um, there is a lot of truth to it, I must say. Um, if you are the type of person who is a very Clint Eastwood-esque person, and you're very comfortable with that, you know what, by all means, do you.
Hmm.
But I would say most of us are not, including Clint Eastwood. Um, so you should try to express yourself more and not be afraid to actually do so. Um, doing it will, one, help you for your self-esteem, your mental well-being as well. It will help give other people the encouragement to do it as well. So you're not only helping yourself but many other people around you.
Exactly. You're not weak for opening up.
No, and coming from a place where I'm very ostracized in my community for who I am,
Yeah.
um, I still think it's extremely important to do so. I'm not making many friends by doing this, I will say. So if that's something that's, very personal to you, want to be friendly towards everybody, have a big circle of friends. If you're in a place where it's not accepted to do this kind of thing, you're not going to be having a good time there. Uh, but I would still encourage you to at least do it because you can change other
Yep.
people around you, help them think, you know what, people are, this person's living their life. They seem extremely happy. I'm going to try and do that as well, express myself a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like
So,
you have to at least try to convince the somebody, like, and
yeah,
I'm sure 1 out of 10 people are going to listen to you at least, right?
you'll have people, yeah, for sure. Right? Like it's not going to be everybody, and it's not going to be fast. It's going to be extremely slow. Even in yourself, for coming out for different expressions. Like for me
Yeah.
personally, it's taken over a year and a half to get this far, um,
Yeah.
and I'm still not even sure if I've explained things properly. So sorry
Honestly,
for
Mike, you
everyone
did a
listening.
great job today, buddy.
Well, thank you.
I'm
I
super
appreciate
proud of
that.
you. You've come very far, I want to say, from even the last time we spoke, which was like a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I
I can see the changes in you already that you're doing. So
thank you.
it's great, man. You're doing great work with inner self and approaching things externally as well.
Exactly.
You know,
It's all about self help for me, with the added bonus of my self help will technically help other people too.
yeah,
So
exactly. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people listening and watching the pod right now that may be going through something similar and as yourself and like maybe can't express themselves as much as other people or they struggle with it in some capacity. And I think hearing your story and seeing where you used to be and where you are now, or at least taking the strides to try and make that better and make that a priority in yourself to
yeah,
express yourself better. I think honestly, man, like, and I said at the top of the podcast, I'll say it again, like when you reached out to me, like I didn't have to, like I would have reached out to you, but again, like I said at the top of the podcast, I wasn't sure, right?
mm,
Um, but when you messaged me and were like, "Hey, I'll be on the pod," I was like, "All right, shit, let's do it." You know what I mean? Like that was already a huge step for you, I think personally.
I would agree. I have not done anything like this. Like even the thought of going online, in general, putting my face or voice out where it's permanent, it terrifies me. I'm not keen with it, especially
Yeah,
when I'm expressing myself in any way.
in this
Even
capacity.
worse, yes. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, as far as you make me feel, yes, I feel very safe when I'm with you. The
of
general
course.
aspect of the entire podcast, though, that is terrifying to me. So I'm
Hey, don't
fairly
worry about
scared.
that, man. It's just right now it's just you and me in a Zoom call. That's it.
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about. I'm like, hey, we're just two guys. We're just talking. We're chilling.
We're just two really good friends having an open conversation about mental health for the first time ever, probably,
Sober, yes, for sure.
or at least sober. Yeah,
So
I said ever, not sober.
yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
but yeah, but yes, certainly sober. I'm
I've
sure
talked
we've probably had conversations drunk about this, maybe.
most indefinitely, maybe not to this extent, because again, I'm not sure how
And
much
probably
I
not
went over the.
constructive either. It's probably like,
No,
"Meh."
no, definitely not constructive, not at all. But yeah, these are the type of conversations that I'm sure you're wanting to perpetuate become the normality with people. And I definitely agree. Don't lead off by saying, "Hey, tried to kill myself last night. How are you doing?" But you know, like, it's definitely a topic you should be able to
Yeah, so
discuss
don't
with
don't
other
listen to
people.
me. Just listen to the guests I have on the podcast. I clearly know what the fuck I'm talking about. If you learned anything today, it's that don't listen to the host, just listen to the guests.
Welcome to Starbucks. What can I do for you? It's like, oh,
Wow, I'm glad you asked. Can I get a suicidal frappuccino, please?
one sap frap coming up. Yep.
One sad frap coming up. Oh God. Yeah. Wow.
But the message I would like to leave with everyone is
Yeah, go for it, Mike.
don't don't be afraid to express yourself. It will be slow. That is a-okay. There is nothing wrong with the interest that you have. Uh, I'm gonna say that as a general statement. You probably know which ones are the actual wrong ones, you know.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but the generally, yeah, hey, if you want to be for example, a stay-at-home dad, nothing wrong with that.
Do it.
That's great. You should definitely do something like
That's
that.
amazing, dude.
If you like hobbies like knitting or sewing, again, nothing wrong with it. That's a-okay to do. You want to wear a dress, hey, that's fine by me. You should have no problem doing that. Everybody's balls sweat. It is terrible. Dresses are fantastic for that. The Irish know they fucking wear
I mean,
kilts
there
all
are
the time.
kilts, like Scottish too.
Yeah, you do it for a reason. It's very comfortable.
Yeah.
Uh, so
I
things
love
like
this
that.
final thought. This is great.
The final thought:
Wear kilts.
normalize and wear kilts,
Normalize kilts.
please.
If you don't take anything away from this podcast, at least take away the fact that Mike just ended the podcast saying normalize kilts, or I said
Normalize
it, but I'm
kilts.
paraphrasing, but
No, I'll take that to heart too. Normalize kilts, please.
there you go. Boom. You heard it here first,
and,
folks.
and booty shorts on men, because
Absolutely.
that is kick ass.
Absolutely. I mean, if you got a nice man booty, why not show it off?
That's what I'm saying.
Normalize man booty. Normalize all things.
Yeah, for the most part.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Actually, I'm not gonna. Let me take that back.
For the most part, we're in a positive light here. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Normalize
Okay.
positive things. Yeah.
There you go.
Stamp of approval from us.
Wear
Okay, Mike.
kilts, free the booty.
There you go. That is the positive message we're leaving the pod on. You got anything to shout out there, Mike? Anything going on, or anything you want to shout out to the listeners?
I have nothing to shill. I'm a very privatized person.
Yeah.
So
Mike
even
doesn't
as far
do
as
to the public eye.
no, yeah, as far as social media goes, I have a Facebook account that I go on to about once a month. And I
Because that was my
about once a
second
year.
thing was where can we find you, Mike? But you can't find Mike anywhere. So
No, you can find me in Regina, Saskatchewan, because it's fairly small here. So I'm
there
sure
you go.
you'll be able to run into me.
So if you really want to reach out to him, you can drive to Regina or fly, and you can go meet him in person and be like, "Hey, I appreciate your episode," or whatever it is you got to say to him.
If you want to, by all means, I'm here. Again, you will find me. I'm not that hard to find here.
He's open to it.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, buddy, it's always good to talk to you, man. Obviously, I'll continue to talk to you for the rest of my life, probably. So, thank you for coming on, man, and sharing your story with the listeners and the viewers. I'm sure they really appreciate it. I really appreciate it as your friend. And it's great to see the growth that you've made. And thank you for taking this step and opening up like this.
Well, thank you for letting me do it and having me on for sure. I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely, buddy. I love you, man.
Love you too, man.
Okay, guys. Well, if you like that episode of The Mental Break, please check out the pod wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Music, not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast, whatever. It could be on there. I don't know. wherever you listen to your podcasts, it'll be on there. Give it a like, give it a follow. If you really like it, give it a review. It helps with the algorithm, push my podcast up. Check out the YouTube channel. I'm posting videos now, like video format of the podcast. So you can watch it there. You can see Mike's lovely face and all of my guests' lovely face, including my ugly mug. Yeah, I just like to end the podcast saying, drink some water, take a deep breath, get vaccinated, wear your mask, um, give somebody a hug, and normalize kilts.
Normalize kilts.
All right, Mike. Thanks so much, buddy. Take
Thank
care. We'll
you.
talk to you soon, buddy. And thank you guys so much for listening and watching. It really means the world to us, my guests, and me. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.